A Delaware bankruptcy court judge has approved JOANN's plan to go ahead and start closing down more than 500 stores across the United States. Plus, we have a bit of an amended timeline in terms of the near future and what's going to happen with all of the JOANN stores. Welcome to Sewing Report Live. Guys, I got up super early this morning so that I could look in on this court hearing in Delaware. So we have a lot to go over, and I'm also going to play you some excerpts from this hearing. It was called a bidding procedures hearing, and there was a bit of a postponement for this hearing. It was supposed to be a few days ago, and this is totally how I wanted to spend my Valentine's Day for sure. So I will be linking in the description box. Oh, also everything I'm going to be talking about is linked down below in the description box if you want to check it out for yourself. And I was able to get a hold of the entire hearing courtroom audio. So that's in a separate video here on the channel. So if you want to listen to the full thing, you can. Now, just a couple notes about this. So I was able to get on like the list to get access to this Zoom court hearing, which is, kind of, the whole thing has been kind of wacky, honestly. Also, if you're not familiar, I'm a former news producer, so I'm not new to covering courts. I personally find court stuff kind of boring. I know a lot of us are into the true crime stuff, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is so exciting. But the reality of covering courts is it's kind of, overall, it's kind of dull, and there might be some exciting cherry-picked moments from these proceedings, but like just the logistics of it and most of the proceedings are just like, it's like watching paint dry. So this is not really my favorite thing to do. Also, quick disclaimer, I am not an attorney. This is not official legal analysis. I'm just someone who has an interest in the sewing and crafts world. That's what I cover here. So that's what we do. This has been pretty interesting in some regards. So I was able to get on like the list to access the Zoom. Now, I was able to watch it. I watched it live and I took some notes that I'll be kind of sharing with you. We were not allowed to record. Like there was a big warning on the correspondence saying you cannot broadcast this live, you cannot record this. And I was able to watch the video, which I didn't think I was going to be able to get access to, but they specifically said no, like members of the media can only access audio. So right after the court hearing, they made the audio available. So that is what I uploaded. There was a 15-minute recess, so I took that part out just so you guys didn't have to sit there for 15 minutes. And then it cuts off abruptly at the end. The actual hearing did not cut off abruptly, but the recording did. So the very end, it's like 2 hours and 23 minutes. So if that's something you want to, if you're really into this kind of stuff, you can take a listen. So I'm hoping to get access to the next few court proceedings. So hopefully I'll be able to do the same thing. I've spent like 6 hours on this already, and it's only, the early afternoon. So we're going to be going over what happened in court again from kind of a layperson's perspective. And yeah, So the big takeaways though is that the people who are handling the JOANN restructuring, they're going through their second Chapter 11 bankruptcy, which is supposed to be like a reorganization. So let me bring this up for you. So they filed a motion seeking court authority to begin closing over 500 stores. And the judge had no issue with that. So that is going to go ahead. And I'm shooting this on Valentine's Day, February 14th. And it does look like these like liquidation sales are going to be starting next day, which is Saturday, February 15th. And the timeline for all of this, it was supposed to kind of culminate this week. And it looks like it's going to be next week instead. So everything's kind of moved back a week from what was initially expected. That's pretty common with court stuff, so I'm just not super surprised. So this website is linked in the description box if you want to see which stores are going to be closing. Now they're not going to close on February 15th. JOANN's is just starting the closing process of all these stores, so they're going to have some going out of business sales. I don't know if they're going to be transferring some stock. So this whole thing, it was kind of interesting to watch because it was just the whole courtroom. This is in Delaware. Delaware is where a lot of corporations tend to headquarter, I think, for like tax purposes or something like that. So this whole courtroom was just full of a bunch of lawyers. So it was lawyers for JOANN. Now, the JOANN's interim CFO was there, and he was one of the witnesses. So they did have a couple of witnesses testify at this hearing. So if you want to watch the entire thing, you can, and you can hear all the witnesses. Now, you won't be able to see anything. And in fact, the view I got, you couldn't even see the witnesses. It was just the judge, and then there was the, like, whoever was speaking at, like, the, you know, from, like, the lawyer's perspective. But there was no camera angle for the witnesses. So I was like, okay. And so here is the JOANN. Now, here is the timeline. So this was the bidding procedures motion, or the bidding procedures hearing. That was, Valentine's Day. And this is the guy who's handling, he seems to be kind of in charge of the restructuring. So this is Jeff Mahalik. I believe that's how he pronounced his name. And he was the one sort of leading the whole thing from representing JOANN's. So he works for a company called Kirkland and Ellis, and it looks like they handle a lot of this type of stuff. So they handle restructuring, debtor stuff. So he's a restructuring partner. So this is Jeff. You want to take a good look. And that does match the person I saw in court. And he right now has JOANN's on his experience. Representation of JOANN Inc. and certain of its affiliates in their Chapter 11 cases in the U.S. Bankruptcy Court for the District of Delaware. Yeah, so he's already got that. So it says, prior to commencing its Chapter 11 cases, JOANN had approximately $615 million in funded debt across a term loan and asset-based lending facility. JOANN commenced its Chapter 11 cases with the goal of facilitating a marketing and sale process for its assets to maximize value and creditor recoveries. He also did some stuff for Tupperware, SunPower, McDermott International, some other companies. I've never heard of most of these companies. I've personally never heard of. Okay, Forever 21, Vanguard Natural Resources, and he is an attorney. So he went to Loyola University and Chicago-Kent College of Law at Illinois Institute of Technology. So this is basically a bankruptcy lawyer. So he seemed to be kind of in charge on the JOANN side. The other lawyers that were there were for the vendors or the creditors. And then there were a few lawyers there who representing their landlord. So JOANN stores, from what I can tell, I think pretty much all of the stores lease the locations. So they're renters and they don't own any of the real estate for the stores. So there were at least 2 attorneys there that were speaking, representing landlords. And now all of these JOANN stores that are closing, at least 500, they are going to be, a lot of these landlords are going to be out. So there was some talk during the hearing about how the JOANN bankruptcy, basically the vendors, the creditors, and the landlords are going to be the ones left holding the bag, which is unfortunate. And the attorneys for the landlords were not super happy about everything, which is to be expected. So let's go back to the website here. And this is the judge. So this is the Honorable Craig T. Goldblatt. He's been a judge for about a little under 4 years, and he was also a bankruptcy litigator. And I will say his camera shot, I know it's like a zoom. His camera angle was so unflattering. He looks much better in this photo, but I felt bad. Like the shot, he was so overblown. They need to fix his camera because the exposure on it was terrible. And you could barely see his face because it was just so overexposed, and horrible lighting. So this photo is a lot more flattering than the camera angle from court. So that was kind of interesting. By the way, quick plug. If you would like to support the work I'm doing here on Sewing Report Live, covering news and doing reports about what's going on, it really helps. If you can, again, subscribe to this channel. Hit the like button if you feel like this is helpful information or valuable information. And you can also, another way you can support Sewing Report Live is by shopping at my Etsy store, sewingreport.etsy.com. I sell fabric and sewing supplies. This is a completely sole operation. I do not have any help. So I do sell a lot of sewing supplies and fabric. Free shipping on orders over $35 or more. And this month, for the month of February, you can get 10% off of your order plus the free shipping on orders of $65 or more. I do only ship within the United States, but I sell a lot of different things. I'm always looking to add more inventory. And if I do say so myself, I think my fabric selections have been pretty well curated, and I think the fabrics are cute. So quality fabric, I sell Cloud9 fabrics and Figo fabrics mostly. I've got some rayon, I've got knits, but nice quality quilting and apparel fabric. And you can find me, follow the shop, sewingreport.etsy.com. All right, so let's talk about the hearing a little bit, because, yeah, I thought this was pretty, most of it was, honestly, was a little bit boring. It was not that exciting, but you're welcome to listen to the whole thing if you'd like to. But here's a couple parts that I did kind of stood out. So at one point, the judge was so a lot of people have been saying, like, hey, this is a really quick timeline. And the Judge Goldblatt did acknowledge that. He's like, this is happening awfully fast for a Chapter 11 bankruptcy. But they were also discussing the fact that the speed at which this is happening is supposed to be helping JOANN to maximize the value for potential buyers. So the judge was actually okay with this expedited timeline, even though it was happening very fast. It also, to me, does not sound like they have any going concern bidders. And a going concern bidder, I found out, is a potential buyer that wants to continue operating the business. So that would mean JOANN's stores would remain, or at least some of the stores would remain open. And it doesn't sound like they have any interested buyers that want to do that. So they've had 3 liquidation companies interested in purchasing JOANN's, like the assets and all of that stuff. The highest bidder right now is Gordon Brothers, which is a liquidation company. The other 2 companies that were interested were also liquidation companies. So again, that would mean that they would just sell all of the assets and close down JOANN's store and probably online operations. So at this point, it really doesn't, unfortunately, it doesn't sound like they have anybody interested in being a going concern bidder and continuing to operate the business. Gordon Brothers is the stalking horse bidder that would basically just, sell what they can, and that's like their highest bidder right now. The judge was kind of like jokingly, but like half seriously, threatening to like change it from a Chapter 11 to a Chapter 7 with a trustee, which I guess would be not as desirable for JOANN's. So I found that there were a few moments of levities. Let's take a listen to some of these proceedings here.
Be of the belief that if there is an evergreen sale objection, we can work between now and the 24th on it. And if it's an issue with the identity of the going concern bidder, there will be 14 days to object to that.
Okay. Mr. Carter.
Chris Carter, Morgan, Lewis, and Block.
Let me fast forward a little bit.
Agree with the debtors, but we have one bid in hand right now. The closing conditions are 21st if there's no other qualified bid, or the 26th if there is another qualified bid. There's, again, been no evidence that we will have other qualified bids. Certainly.
Okay, so it sounds like if they don't get another bidder, the sale is going to happen, I guess, on February 21st. If they do have another bidder, like, I guess there would be something on the 26th.
On behalf of the pre-petition mediation. Agree with the debtors, but we have one bid in hand right now. The closing conditions are 21st if there's no other qualified bid, or the 26th if there is another qualified bid. there's, again, been no evidence that we will have other qualified bids, certainly not that there'll be going concern bids, and we're not able to risk our senior collateral position, senior lien position.
Mr. Carter,
Yeah.
look, the original ask in this case was sufficiently outrageous, in which I had your client asking to use the bankruptcy process on the backs of everybody else for its own benefit. And so I'm not overly interested in hearing why this isn't good for your client. The alternative is you could deal with the Chapter 7 trustee for forever. So we're going to run a fair process if we're going to use this court. Is that understood?
Certainly, Your Honor. And I definitely understand that, and I understand the concerns. But just as, the AVL lenders are in a significant over advance. What we have in front of us is one stock and horse bid that is able to close on the schedule that they propose.
Would you prefer to be dealing with a Chapter 7 trustee?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Is there anything?
See, he's getting a little. I like this Judge Goldblatt. He's getting a little bit sassy. I sort of appreciate that. I imagine he's got to do what he can to keep things interesting in court, so he doesn't, die of boredom. Because this stuff can be really, very, very dull. So kind of interesting. Let's listen to a little bit more here.
Anything else?
No, Your Honor.
Okay.
There's issue.
Is there anyone else who'd like to be heard? It doesn't happen by accident, and I really appreciate everyone's good and hard work in that regard. Going forward is awfully fast. I am okay with it under the circumstances of this case, but it's really only because I think that the agreement of the committee and the term lenders to this schedule provides me with real market evidence that there's sufficient reason to proceed as rapidly as we are. There is nothing more common than finding yourself in a bankruptcy case in which a pre-petition secured lender essentially says you can use my cash collateral or I'll provide a DIP loan only if the process runs exactly as I say. And I don't myself have a problem with using the bankruptcy process in part to maximize the value of that lender's collateral. That's part of what we're here for. But there are some principles and guardrails around how that works. And I think the principles are reasonably, at least in this court, pretty well established. The basic rule of thumb is that to the extent a pre-petition secured lender seeks to obtain through the bankruptcy process a value maximizing sale of its collateral, it's required to pay the freight associated with obtaining that relief. And as I see it, paying the freight has two elements. First, it has to involve a process that ensures that the...
All right, we're going to fast forward a little bit. They're talking about like some freight costs or something, so... All right.
Second, the other element of paying the freight is obviously the budget.
All right, hold on.
There's been a lot of paper that's been filed over the last several weeks. I've done my best to keep up with it. I also appreciate that it's been a moving target.
We think we have a very, very narrow list of open items. I won't represent that everyone has signed off on everything, but as far as...
And the guy speaking right now, that is Jeff Mahalik, the guy handling the restructuring for JOANN's.
Or where we're down to basically 3 issues with the bid procedures order.
Okay.
And so, I think to that theme...
Right way.
Yeah, so
that's all I need by way of opening, unless someone thinks there's more I need to get. Okay, thank you for that. That's very helpful.
Absolutely. Okay, so then to fund the one that really pertain to just the procedure drive
engaging things that coach for today. And Lord, 6 and customer Goodman Brothers bid provides absolutely no recovery for unsecured creditors. That's right off the top a significant issue and concern of ours. It transfers every conceivable asset to Gordon Brothers, including potential litigation claims against Gordon Brothers itself, affiliates, insiders, etc. The brand should be facing the risk on its faults. We have had 2 weeks in this case to go.
Me to telegraph more.
We're told that the company emerged healthy, and they were asked to increase supply, stretch out payables, all without being provided information about the financial situation of this company. So, unlike the other parties that are here today, they weren't under the tent, Your Honor. They didn't know what was going on. And so to place and cast blame on the vendor community is inappropriate.
So, Mr. Allen, let me look. I've tried.
I've seen your face. I know you're telling me to wrap up.
Well, no. It's not about the time.
All right, I'm gonna try to see if I can find the part where the judge is talking about the motion to close stores. I forgot exactly where that was. Let me look at my notes real quick. Hold on a sec. All right, so. All right. Yeah, so they were even saying they need to move quickly to keep the company alive for the stalking horse bidder, which is Gordon Brothers. Well, let's see what else I've got in my notes here. Okay, yeah, I'm trying to find... Okay. All right. Yeah, I gotta find... And the judge was even saying he actually felt that JOANN has upheld their fiduciary duty. That's, again, don't shoot the messenger. That's what he was saying. He was also saying that he was concerned about, he's like, you have to be a buyer or seller, but not both. I guess there are people that were trying to kind of double dip there or something. So let me see if I can find the part where he's talking about the store closing motion.
Your Honor, remain hopeful. Different case than Big Lots.
Yeah.
Big Lots is thrown around a lot these days. We don't want a Big Lots endgame here, and we need to protect against that. So at a minimum, Your Honor, this process has to preserve administrative solvency, not placing the risk on the backs of the landlords and the vendors. Potentially valuable estate claims and causes of action should be preserved, and unsecured creditors should not be subject to preference attack. I'm going to go through the rest of this quickly, Your Honor, because today's not an evidentiary hearing. Since already on the vendor.
The premise that the demise of the company was caused by... It's not about the time. And that just is what it is. But to the extent it's helpful to the parties at all, my reaction to the premise that the demise of the company was caused by a group of completely unimpaired vendors deciding to strangle their customer at least didn't strike me as intuitively obvious. So, again, I haven't heard any evidence, and it's not before me today, but to the extent that reaction is of use to the parties. And again, I'll be guided by the evidence, not just my instinct about what makes sense, but for what it's worth, that was at least my reaction to the narrative.
I appreciate that I misread your expression there, that you didn't want me to just sit down and stop talking. So, and I appreciate that input because I think it is helpful for all the parties to hear that, as well as the vendor community to hear that today.
And look, the evidence will be what it will be if and when the question comes to me. So I'm not prejudging it, but for what it's worth, just at a common sense level.
Yeah.
Let me look at my transcript here because I want to find the part where he's talking about the store motion to close. So he's okay. He's fine with JOANN going ahead with their plans to start closing down the 500 stores. He made a few minor changes, but nothing crazy here. Let's see here. And they were trying to find the... All right, but yeah, that's definitely in there. It's definitely in the hearing. I'm just trying to find the... Let's see here. All right, where is the part? Anyways, so let me show you... All right, in the meantime, let me show you the updated timeline of everything. All right, so this is the, okay, so this is actually the motion to close the stores that JOANN filed. So this is it. So I think he made a few small changes. So this is what they are planning to do. And then this is the new timeline. So I believe there's going to be a couple small changes to this new timeline. I think the change is going to be the sale objection deadline. They're moving that by a little bit just to appease some of the creditors, like the landlords were the ones that were especially concerned about this. So the new bid deadline is going to be February 18th. The notice of winning bidder and cancellation of auction, if no auction, is February 19th. Sale objection deadline, I think that's going to change, and I believe this sale objection is going to change. So if there is an auction, it would be February 21st. Sale hearing if there's no auction. And then if there is an auction, the sale hearing will be February 26th. I don't think these times are correct. I believe he was saying it would be like 9:30 a.m. on the 21st, and then I believe 2 p.m. on the 26th. So the next date we're going to be looking at is Friday, February 26th. We should know a bit more. Friday, February 21st will be the next like big date that we'll know anything, if there's other bidders or if it's just Gordon Brothers. So that's basically the new timeline. It was supposed to be today, and it's basically just today or the 14th, Valentine's Day. But now it is going to be February 21st, possibly February 26th if they get any more bidders. But it kind of doesn't sound like fortunately does not sound like that's going to happen. So those are really the big changes. I gotta try to find that part, because the part where he's talking about the sale, the motion for sale hearing, let me see if I can find that, because yeah, this thing, it was super long. It was really not that exciting, honestly. So, but you're welcome to watch the whole thing if you'd like to, or listen to the whole thing if you'd like to. If you're really into court stuff and you nerd out about that, I've uploaded the whole thing. I'm just trying to find the part where he's looking for where he's talking about the motion for sale. All right, yeah, they're talking about freight, all kinds of other stuff. So that's really it from this latest hearing. So thanks to, shout out to Jeff Mahalik for heading things up for Kirkland and Ellis, I guess. Yeah, I'm still trying to find this other part. So, and here is the latest from JOANN. We'll see if they update the docket and the court info as well. They probably will later today, I imagine. So this is... So, yeah, it looks like starting Saturday, February 15th, those over 500 stores are going to be start closing down. So they're not going to be closed on the 15th, but they're going to start the process, which will probably take a bit. And it does sound like they're trying to complete the sale of JOANN by the end of this month, February 2025. We'll see if that happens. I mean, anything's possible. Where is I'm trying to find the motion for sale. Anyways, you're welcome to, all right, yeah, all right. Anyways, that's basically the latest from bankruptcy court. But I hope you enjoyed. I hope you found this helpful. And I'll keep you updated. I'm going to see if I can look in on the next court proceedings. We'll see if we can do that. And I should have hopefully we'll get access to the audio like the first two hearings. But I am Jen with Sewing Report Live. Also, if you're kind of new here, I do have some community rules. So I ask that everyone respect them, because I have gotten some like kind of unhinged comments. So if you are leaving those types of comments, they will be removed. You may be blocked depending on how egregious it is, but I ask that you be polite, respectful, stick to the topic, no self-promotion, no spam, no links. Guys, do not leave links to anything, and no politics. This is not a political zone. So if you want to talk about politics, you can do it somewhere else, but not here on this channel. So any comments that are political in nature, will also be removed. So please keep that in mind. But I appreciate everyone who's coming here and who's leaving comments. For everyone that has been affected by the store closings in terms of employees, I'm very sorry to hear that. I know you guys have been dealing with a lot, and hopefully you can find something else. But I know this is this is definitely the end of an era for sure, because JOANN's has been around for like my entire life. And the thought of there not being any JOANN fabric stores is kind of crazy. Like it just seems like it's something that couldn't happen, and it looks like it's definitely a possibility. Another thing I do want to point out is just from the standpoint of someone who also sells sewing supplies and fabric. This is a tough economic climate right now. So I know I've seen some speculation like, hey, with the void left from all of the JOANN stores, and if they stop selling online, will there be some opportunities for new businesses to pop up, like maybe some small quilt shops, fabric shops? And I don't know. I think I only operate online. I don't have a physical storefront, but the costs associated with operating a brick and mortar store are massive. The overhead is so much more expensive than just operating an online business where you're like shipping things out, or if it's just digital. And I think it would be tough. There may be a boost in sales for existing fabric stores, existing craft stores, but I personally would not. I don't think I would open up a brick and mortar store in 2025, just because you would have to sell so much more than if you were just operating online. The costs of rent, or getting a physical location, insurance, all of these other costs are massive. You would also have to deal with product loss for like shoplifting, or people damaging stuff in store. Like whenever I've been in a big box store like Walmart, JOANN's, Michael's, especially when they sell fabric, it seems like they would have a significant amount of damaged out products in inventory, just because people are coming in, they're touching things, they might be getting the fabric dirty and that kind of issue. So I personally, again, I operate solely online. I do sell physical products, but I don't think I would. I think there would be so much risk and so much overhead from opening up a physical storefront that I don't think I would right now. Plus, the economic climate is kind of precarious. People are spending a lot less money. They have less disposable income for something that is, sewing is a luxury in some sense. So I think that it would be tough. For instance, my husband's a plumber, and he works for a small business owner that just owns the plumbing company, and it's only like 3 people. And just to put this into perspective, even though this is a pretty small local business with 1 location, do you want to know how much their insurance costs? Their insurance, it's like contractor's insurance, and I think it also covers the company vehicles. The owner of this plumbing company pays over $100,000 per year in just insurance. So that's an exorbitant expense that I don't really have to worry about, because I don't have a physical storefront. But if you do have a physical storefront, you do have to have insurance for the building liability. Someone gets hurt on the property, that kind of thing. You get sued, and just the insurance cost alone would probably be massive. So the other thing I do want to point out is also from my personal experience, fabric is hard to sell. I know I've seen a lot of comments like, hey, they really need to get back to basics, sell quality sewing notions, quality fabric, and that would really help turn the business around. I think to some degree that might be true, but I also have to acknowledge, as someone who also sells fabric, that Out of all of the products I sell, fabric is the slowest moving item, just as a slowest moving category. I sell, and I actually am really careful about trying to curate fabrics that I think would have the widest appeal. So not anything that's super taste specific. But I've been selling like Christmas fabric. I've had it for like 4 years and I still have inventory left. I have a lot of other fabrics that are like basics, very kind of all purpose, like solids, glimmer solids, like very, I would say pretty fabrics that should be pretty good sellers. And it's really hard. It's really hard as a business owner to move fabric. I sell a lot more of other products like the notions. The sew tights are really good sellers. Marking pens, general tools for sewing and notions. For me, sell a lot better in the Etsy shop than fabric. Fabric is by far, it's not even close, my worst performing sales item. So I'm probably not going to be expanding the inventory. I'm going to try to sell what I have. But I don't see myself expanding my fabric selection a lot just because I'm going to be real with y'all. It does not sell very well. It does not sell quickly. I've recently started doing fabric by the yard. I also do fabric bundles. I would have to say the fabric bundles sell a little bit better than a lot of the fabric by the yards or like the cuts I'm selling, like 3-yard cuts or whatnot. I've even started selling like custom cut fabric by the yard, and that stuff is just, I'm gonna be real, it's not really moving. I think I have pretty fair prices. I've also tried to shop around and get deals on my fabric inventory just so that I'm able to offer the fabric at a good price. I'm able to have sales and everything and also eat a little bit of loss. But that's something you should know as just from a fabric, fabric and sewing supplies shop owner, that fabric is really, like, it's such a tough sell. And that's one thing that I don't know if I should be surprised by, but that's something that you all should know too. And that might be, I'm not trying to shift the blame from JOANN's because clearly the corporate management has a lot that we could criticize. A lot of the business decisions, in my opinion, have not been great. But I do want to acknowledge, as someone who's also in that same sort of, category from a business standpoint, that fabric has been really hard for me to sell, and I've done a lot of marketing. I think I have pretty decent marketing. I've made products. I've sewn items and showcased it on my main channel, the Sewing Report, to give inspiration and to show people. And the fabric just does not sell nearly as well as other items. So I don't really see me expanding my fabric selection just because it's been, it also takes up a lot of room. It takes up a lot of physical space to store in my house. I don't really have any more room. So I do want to acknowledge that particular aspect of the business is pretty challenging. So just saying, and I have been mindful about sometimes the fabric distributors I purchase from, they have pretty good deals for people like me who are a reseller of fabric. So that does help. Like, I'll try to pick up fabric when it's on sale for me to buy wholesale, just so that it gives me a little bit more leeway from a margin standpoint. I'm able to offer more promotions. I also have to eat the cost of the free shipping on items, on orders over $35 and any sales I run. But I can't even imagine having a physical store selling fabric because I imagine there would be a lot more product loss. Like JOANN's is like kind of a crazy return policy for fabric. And that's the thing, once you cut the fabric, you've really essentially changed the product. Like, you take a whole bolt of 15 yards of fabric, you have a 1 yard cut, 2 yard cuts. It's going to be a little bit harder to sell that particular cut because you have to get another customer that specifically wants that same cut of fabric. Also, sometimes when I get the fabric, there's little flaws in it, and I really try to find that and not sell that portion to the customer. So there is some, I do have to damage out some inventory, and it's not easy. So I will acknowledge, for all of the faults that JOANN management has on a corporate level, I do think that the nature of selling fabric has some unique challenges for business owners. So just something I wanted to throw out there, because I know I've seen some folks be like, oh, well, maybe there could be some other fabric stores to fill in the gap. But I think there's a lot of challenges just from the current economic climate, and also with the nature of the fabric business, especially when you're selling fabric by the yard. So I do think there's some kind of unique challenges that other sectors in retail don't really have. And yeah, that's the thing. Like, if you're going into JOANN's and there's all these fabric bolts out on display, you're going to get people touching it, especially if it's like light colored or delicate fabric. It's just going to happen. You're going to get people who are, just damaging the product. So there's going to be, I imagine, not a small amount of product loss in damaged out goods just from that alone. So just my 2 cents on just selling fabric. I do think there could be some more opportunity. Again, I already sell fabric online, so there might be some, I don't know. I'll let you guys know if I see like a boost in sales. I don't know. So even though I will acknowledge that I think JOANN could improve a lot of the product offerings, especially the fabric quality, especially over the past couple of years, nothing to really write home about. Whenever I've been in a JOANN's, I haven't been impressed by the fabric offerings. It's just a lot of fleece stuff that I personally wouldn't buy. But I also don't know how much things would get better for JOANN's if they were to switch their fabric to higher quality, nicer fabrics. Again, I sell higher quality, nice, cute fabric, and I'm having a really hard time selling it myself. So it's also kind of expensive to ship fabric because it's heavy. So there's a lot of challenges with selling fabric that I just want to acknowledge as someone who also sells fabric. So anyway, sorry for the rant. This is not really going to be a very edited video. I want to get this out as soon as possible, but if you'd like to check out the full over 2-hour court hearing from Delaware Bankruptcy Court, you can. I will link it up here. I think that's up here and down below in the description box. If you would like to watch the whole or listen to the whole thing, you can. I'll keep you guys updated on what's going on with the JOANN's second Chapter 11 bankruptcy. I'm Jen with Sewing Report Live, and I will see you again in the next one.